The morning fog lifted slow and heavy over the Belgorod Dam, a low industrial silhouette against a pale sky. For weeks, local watchmen and satellite analysts had been marking subtle shifts, unusual maintenance crews arriving at odd hours, a rising pattern of small craft along service channels, and whispers over encrypted channels about the movement of stocks and stores. What the cameras saw as shadows moving behind. Concrete would soon become the fulcrum of a plan that blurred engineering, deception, and timing into a single devastating operation. This is not a story of mechanistic precision. It is a story of patient pressure and human calculation, of planners who watched and waited, of technicians who studied the rhythms of a fortress, and of people who knew the movement of water as well as they knew the movement of men. In the days before the event, ordinary things, a maintenance barge, an empty control room, a shift change at a pumping station, took on new meanings. Local farmers saw roads that were passable in the morning become impassable by evening. Foot traffic thinned near the dam. Somewhere behind the concrete and wiring, decisions were being made that would change a place for a long time. As the trap was set, for every image of machines and maps there were human faces. Sentries on the perimeter with radios on low, officers whispering in corridors lit by sodium lamps, engineers making last-minute checks and then disappearing into bunkers. The narrative that would later be told from afar would focus on striking numbers and structural failures. But anyone who witnessed the lead-up could tell you this. Strategic outcomes are often the product of ordinary choices made under extraordinary stress. A single broken valve, a flooded hall, or the postponement of a patrol can tilt a balance. The stage was being laid not by a single show of force, but by cumulative, careful pressure. We spoke to locals who described a surreal calm on the eve. Traffic that usually hummed around the facility slowed to a crawl. Supply convoys took longer routes, and a silence, heavy as wool, settled over the service roads. In the command nets, analysts reported seeing systems probe and reprobe, a kind of electronic curiosity at the boundaries of detection. Those probes, for the people who had been watching, were the telltale signs that something larger had been drawn into motion. What followed was not sudden in its conception, but sudden in its violence. The strike itself unfolded with a disorienting blend of natural and man-made fury. First came the water. What had been planned as a pressure, a disruption to systems and routines, became a flood that swept through maintenance tunnels and service yards, forcing defenders out of hardened positions and into the open, where they could be observed. The flood did what few weapons can. It altered the geography of an entire complex, washing away conveniences and exposing hatches and panels that had, until then, been hidden. Men scurried to save equipment. Others worked to secure ammunition and vital stores. In those hours, simple choices, to abandon a bay, to move a cache, had consequences that would echo through the rest of the day. Then came the strike. From a distance, witnesses described a single, thunderous blow that reshaped the skyline. Buildings that had stood for decades collapsed into clouds of dust and twisted metal. The blast waved through, up a fountain of debris and sent concussion through the surrounding countryside. For the people who were there, the most lasting thing was not the noise but the aftertaste, a smell of scorched wire and wet earth, of things burned in the open and things that had been kept behind. Barriers now exposed to the sky. The human picture is complex. There were defenders who made final stands in service rooms, trying to plug failing systems as water lapped at their boots. Others fled into the countryside, returning only when the ash had settled. Emergency teams moved in under the cover of dusk, to pull survivors from wreckage and to catalog losses. Local hospitals, already strained, took in those who arrived with broken bones and burns. Many of the wounded were civilians who had been in the wrong place at the wrong time, or maintenance personnel caught in jobs that could not be postponed. The material toll, as reported afterward, was immense. Ammunition stores blown apart, supply lines severed, and command facilities rendered unusable. The immediate tactical effect was significant. A large concentration of forces found themselves isolated, cut off not only by damage, but by the sudden transformation of terrain and infrastructure. Satellite images and on-the-ground photos, taken in the days after, showed a landscape turned over. bridges damaged, warehouses gutted, and roadways littered with the husks of vehicles. For analysts poring over the aftermath, the strike altered the operational calculus for the entire region in ways that would be reckoned with for months.